Start screaming. One-time work. Starting. All right, I think it's starting. All right, I've got to do this again, guys. I just said the intro, but then I realized I didn't hit start streaming. I'm trying in different format here on the YouTube. If you're watching these on video, if listening to these on iTunes, you're going to hear nothing different at all. But we're back again today, double dose of the podcast, joined today by my buddy, Donnie Peters, editor-in-chief for PokerNews.com. He is nominated for a poker award this year for Media Person of the Year. He does a podcast. He works hard. He likes to wear nice clothes, vest. It's working. Thank God it's actually working. He likes to wear nice clothes. I fucked up the intro. The intro I nailed it the first time, but then I didn't make it work properly.
It's always hard to do it the second time around because you have the first time in your head and you want to repeat it, but then you start stumbling over your own words. I do it all the time. Trust me.
Yeah, and you have a way better stand than I have too. It's kind of sick, man. Can you order me that mic stand? Seriously, I got this like fucking jank dog one here. You got like
I kind of like the way yours looked. I was a bit jealous when I've been tuning in to see your mic stand. I mean, mine's a little. It looks good right here, but over here it's just kind of a mess.
Donnie, I want to show you. I want to put the camera down and show you what's laying right here. We got a thing of water. We got we got a bunch of things, man. Whatever, man. Let's get into the pod. Welcome to the pod, man. We got I'm actually gonna see Donnie in a couple of days, but I wanted to do this before we went out for the poker award stuff because we got the GPL coming off, the Global Poker League, the draft. We got the awards, the conference. Donnie's gonna be speaking this year on a panel, so I'm excited to see that. But I think first we might as well start off with, and this sort of worked out indirectly. But but we had Jason Moe on the podcast earlier today. He's obviously made some comments about PokerNews, which obviously is your baby here. And did you get a chance to see any of the comments he made on Twitter? Did you get a chance to see anything you might have said on the podcast earlier? I know you're playing some soccer. You're an avid soccer player. So I'm not sure if you got to check any of that out yet or not.
I'm aware of the comments that he made. I've known Jason to, come out and voice his opinion against PokerNews for quite some time now. I mean, I respect the fact that he has an opinion and he's entitled to share it. Not that I entirely agree with it. But like I said, I respect the fact that he has it and he's so vocal about it.
Interesting. So, but just for people that are watching, we're going to have a male-on-male three-way this Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern with Remco, who also does the podcast with Donnie over at PokerNews, and Jason. So I guess they'll be going in some sort of like showdown. So I think basically I'm trying to understand. I think his point is that he made earlier, and I feel like I'm sort of like I'm trying to understand his comments, but at the same time, you guys sort of have a direction that you go with your content. You guys sort of can make the decision, and he seems upset that you guys chose to go with the Phil Galfond op-ed about where he talked about a guy, borrowing a guy $250,000, the guy not paying him back. And I think his basic point is that PokerNews shouldn't be putting out content like that.
Well, first and foremost, it's an op-ed. I mean, I think everyone is well aware of that. The voice shared in the piece, while it is hosted on PokerNews, it's that of Phil Galfond's. From our side of things, the issue of scammers, thieves, people exploiting others, it's long been something that's talked about in poker's close circles. But it's never been something that's really made its way to the forefront. With that, part of the reason why we agreed to bring on this piece from Galfond when he brought it to us, after we went through our our vetting procedures and everything that we check and on the back end, was that this piece needs to serve as a conversation starter. That's the goal of the piece. The goal of this piece isn't to out one person or out another person, but Jason did say earlier on your podcast that, why can't Phil Galfond just write a piece saying, hey, we need to out all these scammers. We need to start talking about it. Well, if you don't do it without using a specific example, there's really no point in doing it. It's in a way, Galfond's being hypocritical with his article by saying like, hey, we need to out the scammers, but I'm not going to out any scammers in this piece. That doesn't really serve the goal here. We believe that the goal was to be a conversation starter, and from everything that's come after the fact, it seems like it started one heck of a conversation. Directly spinning off of this, you have, the allegations of the guy Shaq from Canada.
Those aren't allegations. We're not going to call those allegations. I'm just going to call those official because that's just one of the most craziest things. reading that Facebook post that's in that thread, that is one of the craziest things I've ever fucking like just read through. Like person after person with this elaborate story that this guy gave. It's crazy. I mean, really is. Have you read through the whole entire like post on the Facebook group there?
I skimmed it. I actually still have it up on my computer as a little tab to go back and get through entirely. I mean, there's only so much I can read in one day, so I
Yeah.
try and get the basics and go through it. But, I'm happy that that person, might have gotten that extra push to get over the hump in order to come out and say this stuff and make others aware of the wrongdoings of Shaq, based on the fact that Phil Galfond, might have pushed them to do so. That's the whole point of it all.
Yeah. I think our argument Jason was trying to make earlier was something about, Poker News puts out a piece like it put out earlier, it sort of loses its credibility as a news source. And I think his idea is that Poker News as a news source doesn't have that much credibility, but a lot of people might be reading Poker News that don't think like aren't aware of that or don't know that. I don't necessarily think I agree with the stance he was on. I can understand where he might be coming from, but yeah, like what do you think about that? Do you think it? I mean, you obviously think you guys are a pretty reputable source when it comes to Poker News.
Yeah, I mean, we understand our audience. As much as Jason might want to think he's our entire audience, he's not. Specifically speaking to the Galfond piece, the feedback that we received after the fact was overwhelmingly positive. A lot of people, and it's not just your run of the mill Joe Smiths. It's some bigger name pros. They came out and they said, hey, this is a really good piece. Kudos to Phil Galfond for being able to come out of it. Kudos to Poker News for the get and being able to kind of make this something that's more into the spotlight now, and it's going to start conversations, and hopefully more people maybe start arting people. I don't understand why in poker we're so keen on protecting these guys that do bad things and wrongdoings. I mean, there's obviously a time and the place, and you have to have good judgment when you're doing this sort of thing. But I think in Galfond's case, everything that we checked out on our end, it looked legitimate. It looked like a fine story to run, and we believe that like I said, the content fulfilled its goal.
Yeah, I think one of the other things we talked about earlier was I believe Sean D put something on Twitter, talked about he wanted to write a piece, or him and Matt Glantz wanted to put up a piece on Poker News, a similar type of piece, and I guess they weren't allowed to do something like that too.
Well, so, whenever you take on a piece like this, we understand that we're going down a slippery slope, because what happens once you put this first piece up, without a doubt, you're going to get tons of people that want to do the same thing. Like I said, the goal of the piece isn't to out one specific person. It's to be a conversation starter. And then we're basically saying, through the piece, through Galfond, okay, this is the conversation starter. Hey, community. Hey, players, the ball is now in your court. Go forth how you see fit. Poker News can't host every single story, so we were like, we made the decision ahead of time. This is the one-time thing. And then hopefully we can encourage, players or whoever comes forth with these sort of stories to take other, avenues. And with the Sean Deeb thing, I mean, it's Poker News. Yes, we turned it down to have his, but it wasn't just, a straight turn down. It was a, hey, there's other ways for you to go about doing this. There's forum posts, there's video blogs, there's podcasts, there's social media, you can go on Facebook, all different types of ways to get it out there. And, also in specific to the Deeb case, he could have been the Phil Galfond in this story. He could have come to us, say a month ago before Galfond came to us, and he could have been that conversation starter, so in a way it shows that this Galfond piece did what it was supposed to do, because now Deeb is willing to, come forward.
Yeah, I think you mentioned earlier why don't more people do this? I mean, the answer is pretty obvious. They feel like they still got a chance to get paid back, and if they put this article out, well, then they're probably not going to get paid back, or their likelihood to get paid back declines. So I think that's the biggest reason why. Plus just if you out someone else who's known in poker, you might ruffle some. I mean, there's. It's sort of like it's a very thing that's a slippery slope, I think, in terms of why people don't want to do it. And I think we might see some more of it after this piece. But
I mean, in poker, though, we don't have any sort of, overall governing body. We don't have a lot of authoritative bodies, you know, that are able to police things. I mean, so much of poker is self-policing, and so much of what people rely on poker is their reputation. So in order to stop these people from doing wrong and from taking advantage of others down the line, you know, I think that it's, you know, it's worth something to out people using good judgment. You know, of course, you know, I'm not going to, you know, borrow $500 from you, Joe, and then all of a sudden you're going to out me next week. It's, you know, there has to be good judgment used. Okay. We can't, you know, forget to mention that here. And, you know, in this case, I think everything, you know, checked out on our end. And, you know, I just encourage that more people, you know, take these steps, take the right steps to be able to do it. The Shaq piece is evidence of that.
Yeah, I mean, just from that piece leading to the Shaq outing, which is one of the, like I said, one of those crazy things I've ever read in my life. Like, it's crazy, man. I encourage everyone to check that out. You might be spending like 35, 40 minutes reading the thread, but check it out. And but yeah, we'll spend more time with Remco talking about that on Friday. I'll let Jason sort of voice his side of things, and Remco can go. I honestly, I don't know what's gonna happen, but
yeah, I mean, you know, you better bring some protection or something, because you know, who's gonna know? Who knows what's gonna happen in that podcast?
I don't know what's gonna happen, man. Honestly, like, it's gonna be after the day after Poker Wars. I'm gonna be a little drunk. I'm gonna be a little hungover. Like, I'm gonna be in random place in LA. So I don't know, man. It's exciting, man. We got some people in the chat. Let me give a couple shouts real quick on YouTube. We got Remco in the chat. What's up, Remco Poppy? What's going on, buddy? We got Gary Gates in the chat. What's up, Gary? I'll probably see Gary. I'm sure Gary's gonna be out there in LA for the upcoming stuff. Shout out to Gary. Brent Harrington, what's up, Brent? I'll be seeing you in a couple days too. Adrian Phoenix, she says, taking my Eastleigh PLO tank top to Columbia tomorrow. 100% gonna make a Latino wear it. Nice. Shout out to my boy Adrian, man. Have fun out in Columbia, kid. I hope you don't get kidnapped, please. If you do, call me up. I'll make Donnie. I'll put an op-ed in at PokerNews. I'll write an article about you getting kidnapped in Columbia, and Donnie will let me upload it, man. Lance Bradley, man, we got a lot. We got all the poker media guys in the chat today. Donnie, what's
everyone
up?
We're gonna be seeing on Thursday.
Pretty much, yeah, man. Donnie, what's up? Donnie, Kev Math, what's up, Kev? Bunch of other guys in the chat. What's going on? I will put a link in the description to the outing about Shaq, not Dan Shaq. Come on. Yeah. What do you think the line is? J-Mo versus Remco if they're determine a winner. What do you think?
In an actual fight?
No, I mean, sure. Okay, yes. What's the line in an actual fight, and what's the line in this upcoming Friday?
If you've been listening to our podcast lately, I've been calling Remco an elitist European, so I'm not sure how much an elitist European can, you know, scrap. Seems like Jason Moe might have the advantage there, but, you know, from seeing the tweets, I think Remco's got a little bit of some rage built up that could be unleashed. And Remco, you know, he's a really big guy. He's got that thick Dutch skull that I don't think, you know, Jason Moe might be able to penetrate too hard.
So
I'll take Remco minus 140.
In a fight? I don't know, man. Without training, they're not going to do any Olivier Biscay, like fucking dude. Alleged. I don't know what Olivier's doing, man. That guy, he posted a shirtless photo recently. I have no idea what that kid's on, but
it doesn't even look like him.
Right. He's on some hard work. He's on some hard work, Donnie. It's crazy, man. I'm not even going to establish a line. That's not whatever, man. Let's so you're in a poker award nominee, kid. How do you feel about that this year, man?
Wait. Okay. You're in a poker award nominee.
But you're a poker award nominee as well. I'm talking about you right now.
Yes, I am. I'm happy to be nominated.
Poker Media 2016. What do you? So it's you. You're nominated. Our boy Kevin Mathers, me somehow, and of course Jason Somerville. So now there's a poker presenter category, which is Kara Scott, Sarah Herring, Joe Stapleton, and Dave Tuckman, and there's this media category. And there's like a content of the year category. I feel like the people might be mixed up a little bit in terms of which category they might belong in. You know, what are your thoughts?
I agree. I think some of the categories could be improved upon. I think some of the criteria that goes into the categories could be improved upon. I'm not sure. Were you on the short list of people to nominate? You know, the official nominees.
Yeah.
So some of the people that I even felt that some of the people that made the short list of the final 10, you know, were a little bit off, but it's the second year this is running. It's, you know, sort of a work in progress. Overall, it's a good thing for poker. And, you know, I hope that eventually they'll iron out the details. But I agree that, you know, things could be done a little bit better.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know, it seems weird to like have Kara and Tuck and Stapes in the same category. I feel like they just do two different things. Obviously, I think even Sarah and Tuck and Stapes do sort of different things. So
I want to know where if Kara is going to be on for ESPN. Where's Norman, Chad, and Lon McCarron? Because they're the legends of the ESPN broadcast.
that's kind of what I was thinking. Because I was thinking, we were doing the pod the other day with Steve Ruddick, and we were talking about we went over the awards, and I was like, doesn't Kara just do work for what is she doing right now? I thought she just did the ESPN stuff, but I haven't really seen her do anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I believe she used to do some party poker stuff back in the day, but that's pretty much it. And then the other one is, I think you brought this up either earlier or maybe with Steve, Joe Stapleton. All of his work he's American, but all of his work's in Europe. So I don't really understand why he's on the American, Poker Awards nominations.
Yeah, I think Steve was talking about that. He's like, doesn't he do all the EPT stuff? He doesn't really do much American stuff, and he does some Poker Night in America. I think he's done a couple episodes with Tuck in the past, maybe like 5 or 6 months. But yeah, it's Lance said Carrie did a super high roller bowl too as well, which she did do. So who do you think's gonna win, man? Who do you got for a media person? I mean, you already know who I got. Who do you got?
Person of the year, I would give it to you.
I'm not paying you to say this, kid.
I'm not just kissing your ass in the podcast. I would actually give it to you. That's after long consideration, long thought. For presenter of the year, I'm biased. I would give it to Sarah. But like I said, I'm biased. I think that part of the stuff with Sarah is she's come such a long way. I mean, she didn't start off as a presenter with PokerNews. She had a background, working in the film industry a bit, and we brought her aboard as sort of kind of a utility person. She kind of managed, a whole bunch of stuff behind the scenes while we had Lynn and Christy were the faces of PokerNews, and then eventually Lynn moved on, and then also Christy moved on. But after Lynn moved on, Sarah got the bump up to be a presenter, and she's only improved over the years and gotten better and better. And she's also branched out to now do some work with Poker Central and some of the stuff that they're doing. So she's getting bigger than just PokerNews. Mm-hmm. And everything that she does on camera is good. It's funny. It's professional. It's insightful. I just but I'm biased. So what can I say?
I think Sarah does a lot of, she comes up with a lot of cool ideas for videos, with down the PCA, she came up with a game for us to play. So she's coming up with unique ideas for these things, and I mean, she's putting a lot of work. She's putting a lot of hours, I think, in terms of making videos and just doing different work while she's on location for these different events. So
yeah, I mean, it's not like she just shows up and gets in front of a camera. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. There's a lot of studying what she wants to do, planning, organizing, all that sort of stuff that goes into it.
Yeah, I think she does a great job too. And I mean, it's a tough one, man. Obviously, I feel like it's you make relationships with people that are also in poker. You become friendly with a lot of people that are in poker. So it's always hard deciding who should get some of these awards. I just think Jay Carver wins for the for best content, which for his stream, and then for media person. He's sort of like the name in poker right now in terms of popularity.
Why did they get rid of the Poker Ambassador of the Year, which Jason Somerville was in last year against Daniel Negreanu, who ended up winning it? Why would you get rid of that category? It feels like Jason Somerville would be the next one, because I don't think that they want to give the same award to the same people back-to-back years, especially when it's only the second year and they're still trying to build these awards up. So I think they're going to try and avoid that at all costs, although it's not entirely up to them. It's up to the jury. But I think that Jason Somerville he's more of a poker ambassador. As much as he produces a lot of media content, he's not really media. I mean, I don't want to knock Jason because I love him, but a lot of the stuff that he does is also tied to the fact that he's a player, and it's through his sponsorship and that sort of thing. I don't know. I consider if you're going to say that you two are somewhat equal, you and Jason, the stuff that you do to me is much more media centric than the stuff Jason does.
Yeah, I was kind of saying the same thing when I was thinking more about it. I mean, it's where you also with PokerNews stuff and the stuff Kevin, it's all really all forms of media. You basically put together, you decide which content is sort of going up on PokerNews, which is basically I guess that's pretty much the top site in terms of poker news right now. I mean, I got obviously we got Pocket Fives, or we got Card Player.
Yeah, Card Player's still around. Bluff, went away right after the summer. which is unfortunate because they had a lot of good guys there and they produced a lot of great content. As much as someone like a Bluff is a competitor to us, it's never good when somebody in such a small industry like poker, a company that's producing content, gets the boot. It's just, you want as much content as possible. The more content, the better. The more that poker's out there, the better. That's how I feel.
I definitely agree. I mean, I love consuming a lot of different poker content with terms of videos or podcasts or articles and stuff like that. So, it's going to be fun actually coming up with Poker Central. They got some new shows coming up. And have you seen some of the new shows? They just put out a trailer, I believe, for a new Inside Poker with I think who's hosting that, Matt Savage. And you've seen that? Have you seen the trailer for that one?
I've seen the trailer. That's the one that I believe Sarah's working on.
Yeah, I think Sarah is in that one too.
Yep.
Who's the host? Matt Savage and the name escapes. My memory's so bad right now, man. What's do you know the host of that one?
I do not know.
Kev Meth. Kev Meth. Kev Meth knows everything.
I'm surprised Kev Meth didn't already answer in the chat.
I'm surprised he didn't read my mind and answer in the chat. Yeah. I'm surprised too. Let me go pull up the official. So did you see the content? The content is the photo that was taken of Dan Negreanu, was the story by Brad Willis about I think it was the Carolinas, the home poker game going on there. I think it was called Bust, and Jay Carver's, and then one other one too. But I'll put the actual nominees up right now.
I think, like you told, like you and Steve talked about the other day. I mean, the two frontrunners in that are Bust by Brad Willis, and also the photo by Joe Girone of Dan on the ground falling main event. Brad won Media Content of the Year last year, and the story this year, Bust, the story of the underground poker games in South Carolina, was absolutely amazing. I couldn't put it down. Every time that there was a new part released, I read it from start to finish. I just think that the jury will sort of give him a knock because he won last year, and that it'll go to Joe Girone for the photo. And I think it's good that Joe Girone gets this award if he does get it. He's been around poker for so long. I mean, in some of the photos that he takes, people look at them and they quickly go on to the next thing. But something like this photo of Dan Negreanu really encapsulates everything that was happening in that moment. And like Steve said the other day, that photo does more than any of us could write in 20,000 words.
Yeah, the other one was Faraz Shaka, homeless poker millionaire. Which,
okay, that shouldn't be on the list.
That's
first
what
of all,
I said, man. That can't be.
Second of all, who gets the award? Does Faraz get the award? No, because Faraz shouldn't get the award because CNN actually produced it, so CNN should get the award. So I guess it's kind of cool if CNN's there and they win an award and they can be like, "Hey, we won this poker award," and it helps sort of boost poker. But that shouldn't be on the list.
I agree, man. It's like, what the fuck is that doing on the list, man? Like, I understand he got on CNN, but
But no.
I don't know. Merrim in the chat said, too much awards talk, not enough poker news bashing. Listen, Merrim, I don't get much chance to actually talk about these damn awards. And so and plus, I'm with a fellow nominee, so we're gonna talk about it, man. We'll be able to fast forward through this later if you want to watch it back on replay. Just fast forward ahead like 7 minutes. Let us spend like 10 minutes on this, and then we're gonna move on to a different category. But I think in the other terms of other categories, nothing else really to talk about. I don't think tournament performance of I think these are just like, yeah, I don't know. Does any of the categories interest you?
Really missed.
What'd you say?
Bad. The breakout player of the year to me missed badly.
I agree, but how so? Tell me what you think.
So I question the people that nominated the 4 finalists. Not that these 4 finalists didn't have breakout years, but there are several other players that had much better breakout years that should have been nominated. And, part of this is the criteria, which I think is, it definitely needs to be changed. The thing that like if you make a WSOP final table anytime before 2014, you're ruled out of this. Well, I mean, I don't agree with that entirely. I think that each sort of breakout year can be dependent upon itself. And I think that a lot of people misconstrued the fact that while we may cover certain people that were on that list, just because we cover someone in the poker media doesn't mean that they've had a big breakout year. It could have just spawned from, when I started covering tournaments, someone said, hey, that's so-and-so. And then every time I see that person in a tournament, I'm just going to add them to the list because, in a perfect world, you want to cover every single person in a tournament. We just don't have enough manpower to be able to do that. But just because someone is a notable face in the field or a name in the chip count page or a person that we do some hands with, that doesn't mean that they have had any sort of success over the years in poker. Some people that I think really got snubbed, Nick Petrangelo had a huge year last year, absolutely massive. Aaron Mermelstein, I mean, listen, Kate Hall went 5 out of 5 cashing in WPTs, made 2 final tables. Aaron Mermelstein did the same thing in terms of coming out of nowhere, and he won 2 WPTs. So why is he off the list? Another one is Sam Greenwood.
I got theories, but go ahead, keep going.
Another one's Sam Greenwood. I mean, there's lots of people that got snubbed off this list, and I would just say that the people nominating these 4 finalists need to get a little bit more in touch with everything that goes around in the poker world, in terms of like specifically poker tournaments.
And that was sort of my my quarrel, if you want to call it, last year with the nominees, because sure, people can be like, who gives a fuck about the awards? Who gives a fuck about these things? But why not care about them a little bit? Why not talk about them a little bit? I think they're cool. I think they're fun. I think some people might care. Some people might not give a fuck. But it is what it is. So I think it's kind of fun to at least, if you're going to care about it, at least care about every aspect of it. And last year, the nominee panel that I saw was certainly questionable in terms of how much poker they actually followed, how much they consumed. I mean, I don't want to fire any shots, but some of these people, I imagine they don't know any, really, they only know what's happening with the main event and what's happening with maybe that's about it, honestly. So, I'm curious to see what the panel was this year, because I wonder if they made some changes they made a little bit different, or if it was the same type of people on there as last year.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the panel, I think the panel needs a little bit of a change, but they also need more direction or better direction, and a lot of that has to do with the criteria. I mean, we say this almost every year with the Poker Hall of Fame, that the criteria needs to change, or the nomination panel needs to change for the people that vote various players or industry members into the Poker Hall of Fame. I hope that, because these American Poker Awards are just starting and it's just the second year, that we don't go down that same path that the Poker Hall of Fame has gone down. And that we can sort of stop ourselves before we get to that point, almost the point of no return.
Yeah. Kev Matt said there is a list of 10 suggested nominees. I don't think Nick Petrangelo or Aaron were on that list, because I remember I don't remember I saw them on the list.
Well, then if they weren't on the list of the short list of 10, then that's on the association, which would be the GPI. Why weren't they on the list?
Oh, well, if only we could talk to the person very soon who make
make
up
on
that
Thursday.
list. Yo, I'm excited, man. You excited to speak in the conference? So you said the conference, you, Lance Bradley, and who else was going to be on your panel this year?
Adam Schwartz from the 2+2 podcast.
Adam, cool, man. That's going to be fun. That's going to be really fun. Did you like the conference idea last year?
I did. I think it's something that some people on the outside might look at it and laugh. But
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, you took initiative upon yourself to go. I mean, you're not anyone you don't have a job in the poker industry. You don't get a paycheck from PokerNews or Card Player, whoever it is. You're not required to go to these things to be in tune with the industry. As much as you are, it's just kudos to you for being able to take that initiative. I wish more people would take that initiative from the general poker community, and also, specifically poker players. Just come out and see what it's about, and see all the industry members being able to talk on these various panels and discuss topics, and also open yourself up to having conversations during breaks with different people in the industry. Ask questions to the panel members, ask questions to people after the fact. Just, poker is such a self-serving endeavor from the player's standpoint, that I feel like there's a big disconnect between the industry side of things and the playing side of things. And if you think about it, we're all in this together. Poker is so small and we want it to grow. But if we're constantly on opposite sides of the fence, we're fighting opposite battles, and we're not achieving the one common goal of making things, get better, get bigger. I mean, as much as you, or not you specifically, but people in general want to disagree with some of the stuff that Alex Dreyfus specifically has done. I mean, I'm one of the biggest critics of Alex Dreyfus. having someone like him in the industry that's willing to push the envelope and take these initiatives and hopefully, bring it to the next level, poker in general, it's a good thing for our game. And, the awards are one of the processes that he's going through in order to do that. And, I invite people to come out. I hope that more people come out than last year. I hope that more regulators come out. Online poker getting regulated in the United States is a very hot button topic. There's a lot of news actually that just came out today about the new bill in California. With this being held in California, I hope we can get some of the California legislators to be there and, hear what we have to say from an industry standpoint and, pick our brains a little bit, because I think it's for the greater good of the game.
I agree. I think a lot of poker players see it as pointless to go to the conference because it's like, what do I get out of it? And, what does it matter? But, like I said, I went last year and I just found it informative. Like, I really enjoyed meeting people from different forms of the poker world that you'd never get a chance to really meet or interact with. And I just thought it was fun. Like, I guess I'm in a different category than most poker players because I'm, sort of like doing stuff in this space. I'm really interested in it. Like, I just want to get to know everyone that does that sort of thing because all my friends play poker. So it's like, if all my friends play poker, all we talk about is poker. We don't really talk about this other aspect of the poker world at all. So it's cool just to have people here that you can discuss what's happening or, what's going on with media stuff or, just anything basically that most poker players don't really talk about.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I second the motion that more players need to come out and experience the conference side of things. It works out that it's kind of right on time when LAPC is in town. So there are a lot of players there in LA. And, for those of them listening, I would encourage them to come out. It's a good time and it's informative.
I want to give a quick shout out. Jason Less in the chat. He says, "Puppy, I'm double barreling your podcast." Jason, man, aka Ship It to Fuckboy in the chat on 2 podcasts today, man. Shout out to Jason. Shout out to my buddy Sam, aka Best in the Biz. I think he just took down the EPT Dublin High Roller for 323,000 euro pre-taxes, pre-markup, pre-piece selling, whatever you want to say about it. Shout out to Sam, man. Congratulations, buddy. Very happy for you to get your first high roller win, man. Keep it up. I don't know if I'm going to see Sam. I'll probably see Sam out in LA. Are you excited to see anybody out in LA, to hang out with anybody out while you're out in LA here?
Not anyone specifically, more so just, it's one place where the industry can, all come together. That used to be the World Series of Poker every summer. But not everyone travels to the World Series of Poker nowadays. In terms of the industry and media side of things, the collective amount of people that go out for the summer, it has gotten smaller and smaller every year. But at the awards last year, it was really good to see everyone, from sort of every walk of life in poker. I'm really looking forward to Adam Schwartz, seeing him there and being a part of, or having him a part of the panel that we're on. I always, love listening to the 2+2 podcast. It's the first poker podcast that I ever got into way back in the day. I love his opinions. I love his personality. So I'm really looking forward to being able to spend a bit of time with him too.
It was so weird seeing him in person because I remember back when I first started playing poker, like before Stars, like 2007, 2006, like I'd be going to McDonald's in Chicago. I'd have like literally $2 to my name, PokerCast in my headphones. I'm just like, I listen to that thing like religiously every week, the entire like 2 hours of the pod, man. And then when you meet him in person, you're just like, what the fuck? You're like you talk like the same voice you have. You're like that elegant radio voice. You have like the same voice in person. And it's fucking weird, man.
Yeah, it's going to be good though. It'll be good to see everyone.
I agree. So like when you go to something like this, what's your approach going into it? Like, are you thinking, all right, let me hang out with as much people as I can, let me potentially, build relationships with certain people out there? Like, I guess, how do you approach something like this?
I always want to just try and touch base with anyone and everyone, whether that be people that I know very well and I just haven't seen in a while and I haven't been able to get that face-to-face time. It's good to just, shake their hand, have a quick conversation, see how things are going, touch base on various topics within the industry that we're working in. But then also meet new people as well. Last year going to the awards, it was a really big step. For me personally, just being able to meet a lot of people that, you see their name on an article or you read some stuff by them or you see them in a video or you see a picture of them. But you never get to meet these people, face to face. And just being able to do that in one setting, and get it all out of the way in one big day is a really good thing. And then, be able to then foster those relationships, over the next year, whatever time period that may be, just so you can, everyone in the industry can work off each other. I think like one of the last year, I was really, really, really looking forward to meeting Chris Grove. I mean, the guy's an absolute legend.
Yeah, he's a beast. Oh yeah.
I didn't know he was so goddamn tall.
I didn't either. That's the first thing I said. I mean, I'm tall, but I'm like, I didn't know this guy's so damn tall.
He's an absolute giant. But being able to meet him was a great thing. One person that I haven't met in the industry that I really want to meet in person, who I've talked to, is Steve Ruddock, but he's not going to be at the awards, so that's a bit of a bummer because I wish that I could just pick his brain in person, shake his hand, bounce some ideas off him, that sort of stuff. It's not always easy to do that stuff via online messaging or emails or whatever it may be.
I definitely know what you mean when it comes to that. I mean, I feel like a lot of my interactions are done via Skype, via, podcasts and like this. And just because, I'm out in Chicago, I don't necessarily travel to a lot of events. Like I went to PCA and I had, that was like a fucking great time there. But you kind of live in Vegas. So do you feel like you get to see a lot of people when they stop in town or when they're laying over or when they come to hang out for a couple of days? Or obviously you travel a lot too. So do you get a lot of interaction with different people that you'd like to get interactions with throughout the year? Or do you feel like a lot of those guys aren't in Vegas or they aren't at the tournament stops?
Yeah, not so much. I mean, as much as poker is known for, Vegas is known for poker and gambling. There's not a ton of poker stuff outside of the World Series of Poker that goes on in Vegas. I mean, there's a couple WPTs as the really big one at the end of the year, the 5 Diamond at Bellagio, and everyone's in town for that. And that's a really good time to see everyone. It's sort of right around the holiday time. Everyone's got just a nice festive feeling about it. But other than that, I mean, I don't feel like a lot of people really do come through Vegas for poker anymore. With me, it's more so just seeing people on the road at the various stops all over that we go to. And, every little stop kind of serves as its own, little summer camp. I mean, the WSOP is the big summer camp when everyone's in town and everyone's having a good time. You get to see everyone. But each little stop has its own little, collective group of regulars that travel to it that you get to see. And it's really good to catch up with everyone.
How do you deal with being away from is it your girlfriend or is she your wife?
Girlfriend, yeah. I mean, for me personally, it's fine. I would say she has a little bit of a hard time with it in terms of getting sad that I'm going away.
Right,
but I had the job before I had the relationship with her. And when we became a little bit more serious, I said, hey, listen, this is my job. I travel with my job. I'm going to be away from my job or from home, for X amount of time. Sometimes it's much longer than I would hope. But, don't think that it's this isn't something that can work out. Just know that going into it, that there's going to be, some tough times. And she's very receiving of everything. She actually came down to Australia recently for the Aussie Millions. She met me down there towards the tail end, and I had some vacation days saved up that I took a little over a week off. We just hung out around Melbourne and, enjoyed the city and enjoyed the sights. Melbourne's my favorite city in the world to go to. So being able to bring her down there and experience that with her was, something that it was just great. Absolutely amazing.
I kind of asked that because I'm going through some things right now with my girl and she gets so sad and like, obviously I want to see her and I miss her during it, but these are sort of the things that you get from being in the poker world. Like you go to these things, like these are the experiences you have when you're doing different things in poker. So I'm just trying to deal with that aspect, of because I've never been in like a relationship where you travel a lot or where you can travel a lot, just from being online poker. I just played poker online, or I lived in different places, but I never really got in a serious relationship because it wasn't very optimal for my circumstances living in Canada or Australia and stuff like that. So I'm learning, man. I'm learning. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's weird because on our side of things, we're so used to it and it's not that big of a deal to us. We're like, right. Oh, okay, like we got to go away for a week. Not that big of a deal to us. But from their side of things, I can understand where they're coming from. One of the things with my girlfriend that I tried to, really explain to her and really drill home with her is that technology has gotten so advanced these days that while we are away from each other and I can't like physically touch her, whether it be Skype video, whether it be emails, texting, everything, it's just, you're so readily available to be able to contact the person that it makes it a lot easier than say 5, 6, 7 years ago. If I was doing it back then, I mean, I'm not so sure that it would have ever worked out.
Yeah. Well, it's a challenge I'm undertaking now, but I'm taking her to LA with me. So,
well, there you go.
We'll see how that goes. I don't know. It just feels like, this is getting like deep. I don't know if anyone out there, if they're single, they're gonna be like, shut the fuck up. But I like talking with Donnie. So I'm just gonna ask one more thing related to this topic, which is, it seems easier when you're by yourself when you go on these trips to like, go meet up with the guys. Like, Bart, talking to Bart Hansen. He's like, hey, you want to come to my restaurant for dinner with me, Tuck, Scott Ball, and another guy? I was like, well, I mean, it's like a bunch of guys, right? Like, well, can I take my girl? It's not like the ideal situation to take your girl. It's a bunch of guys drinking, having a good time, getting inappropriate a little bit. Obviously, Tuck's going to get out of line for sure with some of his comments. Scott Ball is going to be girl grinding it up. So it's not like the ideal scenario to be like, hey, I'm gonna take my girl to this spot. So that just seems like the most challenging thing for me right now is figuring out how to incorporate her into, like, seeing people, touching base with people out there.
Yeah, no, that is a hard part of things. I mean, I've never traveled with my girlfriend to an event, so I can't really, lend any sort of tips to you. This time she came and met me. We planned it where she came at the end of the series. That way, she was there one day when the series was running at Aussie Millions. She basically just kind of hung around the city, did some tourist things on her own, and then we met up later on, and then went on our vacation afterwards. But as much as this job is, is awesome and traveling around is great, I mean, I am working 15, 16 hours a day. It's not exactly like I'm getting up and running around these cities and doing whatever I want. And then, going on all these different tourist excursions, seeing all the sites, going out and enjoying the nightlife every night. I mean, there's a job to be done. It's not like, when we travel, for a lot of people on the industry side of things, it's just, that's our office. It's a great office. Don't get me wrong. I'm blessed to have it, but that's our office and that's where we go to do our work. So, even when the girl comes, I can't be like, hey, yeah, like I'll meet you for lunch because I'm stuck doing something or I'm working or whatever it may be. So, but I totally know what you mean, because on these trips, when you get these group of guys or, just the poker community in general, your significant other doesn't always fit in to come, hang out with them. So, right. And then when you do get together with these group of people, even if you bring your significant other, you're talking about your industry or poker, and it's jargon that's completely foreign to them and they have no idea what's going on. So, it's definitely it's an interesting spot.
Lance made up a good point. Do not have kids. Yeah, well, couldn't imagine that. I mean, that's gotta be tough, man. Hey, I got a conspiracy theory I gotta ask you about, Poppy.
Go ahead.
Does Amaya own PokerStars?
I knew that was coming.
We gotta ask the tough questions here, buddy. Come on.
Listen, man. I've heard the conspiracy theory. I think it comes up, I don't know, 4 or 5 times a year. To my knowledge, no, they don't. But if I find out someday, I'll be like, okay, this makes sense. But I mean, I feel like, there's only so many people above me in the company that I would know these things. And the fact that I don't, either someone's keeping a really, really good secret from me, or it's just not true. And I would like to believe everyone that I work with and be trustworthy of my, my bosses and everyone within the company, that I'll believe them when, because every time it comes up, I say, hey, this question's coming up again. Can you guys tell me so I can deal with it, on the floor when people are, grilling me about it.
Right.
And every time they come back and they say, no, it's not true.
Interesting. I mean, why do people think they do? Do they think PokerNews pushes some PokerStars agenda or something? What's like the merit behind the people who do think this allegation may be true?
Well, a lot of people think that because, PokerStars is one of our biggest clients. PokerNews is obviously it's an affiliate site. They're one of our biggest clients for affiliates. They're also one of our biggest clients for live reporting production. Just the fact that we work with them so much and we're always, talking about their stuff or, commenting in a positive light on PokerStars. I mean, I've said this on our podcast many times that it's so often that I have good things to say about PokerStars. I don't always want to have a good thing to say about PokerStars, but they're always so damn good with everything that it's hard to find a negative thing to say about them.
Whoa.
But recently,
okay.
Recently, it's changed. But, for a long time, they've always been the best online site. They've always been the best, live event producer with the EPTs and the other live events that they do. So, when we compare them to other things, it's hard to not say PokerStars isn't the best at what they do. But I also know that I'm always saying that, and it's a little bit boring. That's a little bit annoying. And I don't want to always say that. I want to be able to critique things, and I do try, but, specifically, I've been against the PokerStars changes, specifically in the way that they went about the changes. That's the worst part of the whole situation.
Right. Yeah. I think that's what I would say for a while people were saying it's not the changes we have an issue with, it's how they went about it. But now they're sort of making more and more changes. And I don't know, man. The changes, obviously it's a Maya's decision. They can go whichever way they want to go with the decision. It's their company now. But,
Well, as we know, the days of Isai, owning the company and just looking out for the specific good of the players in the poker playing community and all of his customers are over with him. I mean, they have to answer to investors, and they're going to do what they see fit in order to make those investors happy.
Fucking investors. I can't wait till we get investors here on the podcast, and I got to start answering to them and some of these things I talk about or say here. We're going to be pushing major agendas around here, man. Fuck. Shout out to Christy Arnett in the chat. She says, I love Donnie. Christy Arnett, friend of the podcast, guest to the podcast, one of my favorite people to have on the podcast. Shout out to Christy, man. Hope you're doing well, Christy. I've been working on my handstand since I had Christy on the pod. Can you do a handstand, Donnie?
No. I mean, no. I'm not even going to front like I can. There's just, no way.
You want to try? You want to try to do it?
No.
Okay. I tried at least. I mean, I got myself against the wall. I tried. I believe I tried. I hope I tried. I know I tried on one. Actually, I might not have tried. I hope I did try. It might have been on Sam Abernathy podcast. Yeah, I'm going to assume I tried. Never mind. One more thing. I saw Jason asked earlier. He was talking on the pod. He was talking about journalism's degree. That's something about PokerStars. Do people at PokerNews have journalism's degree? Is that a thing? I don't even know if these are a real thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there are. A lot of people that work within PokerNews have mostly sports journalism degrees. Sports journalism and poker journalism, if you want to draw any sort of parallels, I think those two are the closest things to each other. I specifically don't. I didn't come up that way. I sort of learned everything in terms of my job scope just by coming up within the industry and working my way through the company, starting back in 2008. When I went to school, I was going for engineering and just being like a college kid playing poker on the side. Obviously, I'm not doing that at all, but I can't complain.
Do you think it matters if people have a journalism degree, if they don't have a journalism degree? Do you think that makes a big difference?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. There's a lot of people that just understand how journalism and news reporting works, and they might not necessarily have a journalism degree. Just like some people might be really good at math and don't have a math degree. You don't always have to work in the field where your degree is. There's no sort of rule that says you have to do that. There are a lot of people that contribute to Poker News that have extensive backgrounds in journalism and have journalism degrees or writing comprehension degrees or English degrees or what have you. A lot of them have communications degrees, which kind of covers journalism in a more of a broad sense, like broadcast journalism, that sort of stuff. But yeah, I would say that no, it's not true that people don't have the journalism degrees, or if not, they don't have a journalism degree, they have adequate experience in the field to be able to do the job.
I don't have a journalism degree. I do. I lied.
You don't have a journal. Do you have a journalism degree?
I do.
Okay.
No, come on, kid. I got a 24 tabling degree from PokerStars.com.
You're nominated for Media Person of the Year, so you did pretty well for yourself.
That's what I'm saying, man. I don't think you needed it. I don't know. Maybe it mattered. What do you even learn in journalism degree school? Like, what do you learn when you get one? What is it? What would it make you different doing?
Well, there are definitely certain processes that you're taught in any sort of schooling. How to go about things. But if you have people around you that have those degrees, why do I specifically need a degree, or why does somebody else specifically need a degree if I can just ask that person, or they can teach me, or I can just learn it by doing it? It's not like I just went from nothing to editor-in-chief. I had to show that I could do the steps along the way. And people that elevate themselves within all of poker media, I think that they have to show some sort of experience, some sort of knowledge, and a distinct skill set that they're able to do the job adequately.
I agree, man. I'm excited for this JMO Remco 3-way. I don't, like I said, I don't really like doing 2 men at one time. But if I'm ever gonna do 2 men at one time, I'm very happy to be a nice young Dutch man and a nice young Asian man. So that's my ideal 3-way for 2 men. So
It could be like a bad train wreck that you just can't turn away from. It could turn out that way. I hope you're prepared.
I don't think so, dude.
Well, we hope not. How about that?
I don't think so. I don't even know how to moderate these things. Like, I'm like, Remco's like, Joey's probably excited to do this. I'm just like, I don't know, like, what to do. I'm like, you go. Okay, you speak. Like, I got to watch some presidential
get some
debates.
Popcorn, ask a couple questions, and enjoy the show. That's how you moderate this.
Are you going to be in LA on Friday?
No, I'm heading back to Vegas on Friday.
I was going to say, man, you can come by and, like, maybe assist or something. I don't know. I'm doing it from... I might be at the hotel. I might get an Airbnb. I'm not sure where I'm going to stay out there yet. SLS hotel is like $650 a night or something ridiculous like that. And like I paid that for the Cove room, so
put it at the most expensive place possible for everyone.
Yeah, but I didn't remember it being this expensive last year. So although I mean I stayed there for like 2 weeks last year, and I guess it was an interesting 2 weeks, man. Last thing to talk about. Let's talk about GPL. So. GPL, obviously, Global Poker League. What's Global Poker League, Donnie? Go ahead. I'm gonna give you. Go ahead. Tell me what you.
Well, it's poker's attempt. Well, one person's attempt to take a league format that's used in a lot of other industries, mainly sports. Build poker, mold it to poker, and then launch poker into the mainstream spotlight. I'm not totally sold on the idea. I'm sold on the end goal. Okay. I know where Alex Dreyfus wants to go with this. He and we've butted heads lots of times. I think we talk almost daily on Skype, and it's, me asking questions, him saying something, me disagreeing, him disagreeing. And we just go back and forth until at the end of the day, we say, okay, let's go back tomorrow and repeat this. But I think that, everything that Alex is doing, in terms of his initiative in what he wants to do with poker and where he wants to bring poker, with the Global Poker League as his vehicle to do so is a good thing. I mean, poker needs to be in the spotlight more. It's continually shrinking right now. I mean, that's, going back to the PokerStars changes. That's why they say that they're making the changes, because it's, they need to do things on their end to make more money because poker's shrinking, all that sort of stuff. Hopefully they're able to bring new people to the game. I have no idea if it's going to work out or not. I'm more optimistic now. I was really optimistic at the beginning. Then I was not optimistic at all for a really long time. And now I'm starting to turn back to being optimistic. And I think I'm like 50-50 as to whether or not it's going to work out.
I don't know if it's going to work out, but I'm just excited to watch it. I mean, but also we can go back to being PokerNews. I feel like PokerNews, they have an ability to make it more successful, to give it more buzz. Obviously you can determine how much content is developed around it, whether it's written content, whether it's video content, a combination of both. So, you kind of, and I was thinking about this too, even with the podcast I do or creating videos, like, how much content do I want to potentially form around it, whether it's discussion, whether it's having guests from the league on. And I'm not sure about the answer to that question yet. How do you approach that idea for yourself?
I mean, I think that because I agree with where, Alex's mindset is with where he wants to push it and where the end goal is, that, we at PokerNews will support the idea, and we'll try and assist in any way that we can. I mean, most recently we've been doing a lot of interviews with all of the franchise managers, trying to pick their brain with how they're going to go about the draft process. None of them have given us any sort of, I'm drafting this guy, I'm drafting that guy. But just keeping it in the forefront, keeping it as a talking point. And along those lines, I mean, whether or not the GPL works out or not, it's going to give us stuff to talk about, is it not? Mm-hmm. I mean, if we're going to talk about it if it fails, we're going to talk about it if it succeeds. If it succeeds, we're going to talk about it for a much longer time than if it fails. If it fails, it's going to be, the next epic poker league. It didn't work out. It lasted, 8 months or whatever it was. And now we don't ever talk about it again. We only reference it in passing. Hopefully this is the start of something really big in poker, because, I think Daniel Negreanu said this in his, in one of his recent blogs about all the hubbub surrounding the contract, is that basically a free roll for the poker industry if we all kind of buy in, to an extent. We don't have to sacrifice our whole lives to assist the GPL, but if we can all lend a hand in order to, continuing to promote it, market it, keep it out there as a talking point. I know that the USA Today is getting on board with the GPL to have a little, poker dedicated section specific to the GPL. That's a really good thing for the industry. And if it ends up blowing up, awesome. Everything that I said negatively about it not working out, I'll be wrong, but I've been wrong in the past and it doesn't really matter. But I'm hoping that it works out because it's going to be a good thing for the game if it does.
Yeah, I don't know. Epic Poker League, Annie Duke, Alex Dreyfus. I got to go with AD on this one, man. I don't like
Hey, I'm totally with you on AD over Annie Duke.
I mean, listen, I let Annie Duke, AD. Give me 45 minutes to hear each of them talk. I'm going to have to go AD here, so. I'm going to go AD for sure. What do you think about this draft? How do you think this draft's going to turn out? You think it's going to be people picking guys from their country, from their area, most marketable guys, or you think they're going to pick the best players? What do you think is best? What do you think is GTO for the people drafting the teams?
Well, I think this is where things could really go wrong, is depending on how the franchise managers go about the draft process. I would say that, so there's 203 players, I believe, that are on the draft eligible list from the top 1,000 of the GPI as of December 31st last year. Every one of those top, we'll say 200 players, they're all going to be the same amount of skill level. I mean, these aren't going to be crazy, well-structured poker tournaments with deep stack poker. They're going to be more fast-paced, more exciting stuff to, keep the fans engaged. That said, you don't need this huge amount of poker skill in order to succeed in that endeavor. So I pretty much throw the skill thing just out the window. I mean, everyone that's on that list that's eligible to be drafted is fairly good at poker, fairly competent enough that they're going to be able to excel in this regard. I would put all of my eggs into the basket of marketability and personality. Anyone that I would draft as a manager, I would just do it based on who I think is going to, promote my team, be the most marketable for the GPL as a league. I just don't see any point in drafting someone who's, not going to be willing to go out and do interviews, not going to be willing to really talk about the GPL, really promote it via all different channels, whether it be in TV, print media, social media, anything like that. They got to be willing to go out there because it's going to rely on the managers and their teams to really make this thing grow. As much as Alex Dreyfus and the GPL can push it on their end, the players really, really, really have to push it.
Who do you think, someone like Daniel Negreanu or Phil Hellmuth, what do you think Phil ends up on? I mean, I got to look at the draft order. Do you think they go first? They go top? Is it a Fedor Holes type?
I don't think they opted in, those two, if I remember correctly.
Really?
Yeah, but they could possibly be wild card selections, but
they're like analysts. They're going to be on the team. They're going to be drafted for sure, right?
I want to say no, and I'm like 85% certain. We need Kev math on this.
That's true. Really? They're not going to be. Why wouldn't they? How would they not be involved? I mean, they're analysts for the draft, so
yeah,
I would just assume they would be on teams also.
I don't know.
That is weird. Really?
Yeah.
You know something or something? What are you talking about? Wait, really? I figured 100%.
What do you mean? I know the list.
They're not on the list, man. That's crazy. I would just assume how does Phil Hellmuth miss this? How is he not on a team at this? It doesn't make sense him not to be on a team for him.
Well, someone like Phil Hellmuth and also Daniel Negreanu, given everything that was going on with that contract, and basically how you have to, in a way, sign your life away. Right. They might view their own brand as something bigger, and they don't. They're so successful with their own poker personality that they don't need to get involved in something like the GPI in order to, then catapult their career in a way. But I think that they'll still be involved. If they're going to be analysts for the draft, I would say that they're going to be brought in to be analysts at various events, and somebody or some people that are willing to contribute to the success of the GPI or GPL.
Yeah, I was assuming they might get different contracts. I'm sure there's certain players who I won't participate unless I get this sort of provision in my contract. I feel like with certain people, GPI is going to be incentivized to say yes because they do want those people in the league. So I was thinking maybe though, but if they are going to be analysts, if they're going to be on the broadcast in terms of the online matches, the live matches, they're still going to be involved. So, but I mean, I don't know. If you look at, the World Series of Poker main event with Daniel playing, I think it's much more popular if he's playing than if he's doing the commentating on the event. So I'm not sure if it's going to have the same type of impact from analysts if they're actual players.
Yeah, I mean, I wish they would get involved, but according to what we were told, no, I just looked it up. They're both not going to play. So, or not going to be, they're not on the draft eligible list. So they could be drafted as wild cards, but then they have to opt in on their own behalf. So we'll see if that ends up happening.
Do you think there's going to be any like sort of celebrities that are going to be drafted as these wild card entries?
I'm going to say yes. And I think it would go to Andre Kari's team for the Sao Paulo team. I mean, Andre Kari is in Brazil. He's like a celebrity. It's, he's a really big name. I mean, you walk around the city, people recognize him, whether it be Sao Paulo, Rio, wherever. People love him down there. He has a lot of really top connections. And the Brazilian celebrities that are now involved in poker, specifically the soccer guys, you have Neymar, you have Ronaldo, the old school Ronaldo.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're people that they've shown enough interest in poker that they would do this and get on board with the Kari. Specifically, the original Ronaldo. I mean, I just feel like they've shown. I mean, for example, Neymar was at ABT Barcelona last year, and he would go to training with FC Barcelona every morning, and then he would come down to the casino and play like a 200 euro side event. That's what he was doing. And I remember, I think I got word that his dad was like called the PokerStars offices and was like, listen, can you like stop facilitating Neymar so much? He needs to be training, not playing poker. They're in the middle of the season, but they loved the game so much, those guys, that I think that because of that and because of their connection with Andre Kari and his celebrity as a manager in his home country could be something where, he brings them on board.
Someone in the chat, Brian. There's always Brian Hastings chattering. Every podcast I do here. So people were saying, who do you think is the number one? Lost in Poker says, who is likely to be overall number one draft pick? So the draft order's set. It's Rome first, Montreal, New York, San Francisco. Who do you think? Do you think the first person's going to be an Italian picked? Dario Mignari, wild card pick. Go a little old school Dario Mignari picks there. That'd be a good opportunity for him.
Dario Mignari is going to get picked. I think that Max Pescatore is going to go with Mustafa Kanit. I would disagree with that pick, but it's not the worst. Okay, I mean, Mustafa he's a character. If he's ever at a tournament, he's he plays it a lot in jest. He wears a lot of crazy outfits. He's not not afraid to be vocal. I think that there's better picks than him. That could be wagered for Max Pescatore, but I don't know how much people from a specific country are going to buy in terms of the national sense, that national pride.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times do you hear about people rooting for someone just because they're from America or they're from Canada? I feel like that's not so much a thing in poker. I mean, I like the idea of possibly restricting managers to only selecting players in their country, but that idea could also backfire really bad.
I think Mustafa Kanit has seen me. Never mind. It's a PCA story. I believe it was whatever. It's Dark Knight. Who else is on the list? Who's second? What do you think about the Montreal? So Montreal second, New York's third, San Francisco fourth. Who do you think goes for Montreal? Who do you think a second potential Montreal pick is?
Mike McDonald or Jonathan Duhamel. So Marc-Andre Ladouceur is heading up the Canadian team. He's really good friends with Jonathan Duhamel, as far as I know. So, and then you have Jonathan Duhamel he was the World Series of Poker main event champ. He's been out in the spotlight plenty, so people will recognize his face and know him. Mike McDonald, he's someone who I'm kind of surprised that he opted in, because I feel like he fit that sort of group of players that didn't opt in. But the fact that he did opt in shows me that he's, in a way dedicated to being able to do this thing. And the fact that he's Canadian and he is a big name, very good player, recognizable face in the game. I think he's someone that Ladouceur could also pick.
Me and Mike might do a podcast tomorrow, actually. So if he is, I'll ask him about it. It's dependent on his schedule. He's playing the WPT event up there, so I think he's still doing well in that. Third and fourth, so New York with Bryn Kenny, and fourth, San Francisco with Faraz Shaka. So I hope they say it. By the way, GPL, AD, I saw AD in the chat. When you say Faraz's name, please say it Faraz Shaka. Please put a little bit of something on there, okay? Tell Eric, please. Put a little something on that. What do you think for 3 and 4, New York and San Francisco?
I have no idea about New York. Bryn Kenny to me is a completely wild card himself. I have no idea where his mind would be. I'll say if he falls this far, Jason Mercier will go to Bryn Kenny.
I like that. But well, Bryn, he does hang out in South Florida, so I'm sure him and Jason are perhaps some sort of relationship together.
Yeah.
And then fourth for Faraz, Shaka.
I think this should be the number one pick. I think there's a good chance that he could fall to 4. He has the San Francisco area ties with Jaka.
Wait, I want to guess. I don't know what you're talking about yet. Keep going, though.
Well, that's it. That's all I got.
Fuck, dude.
If you want to guess.
It's not Byron, because Byron's not known enough for the DP criteria here. He has San Francisco top. Wait, is it him?
Who?
Not Byron Caverman, right?
No, I mean, if you're looking at the list in order, this guy's fairly far down, but in my opinion, he's the most marketable. And the fact that he did opt in to be draft eligible shows me that he's actually going to care. And knowing this person and all the stuff that he's done over the years, he has someone who's cared about his image. And if this thing ends up blowing up, then he'll be good. And it's Antonio Esfandiari.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. That makes sense. I would have probably had to look at that for a second, but that makes sense. So you think Antonio should be the first pick?
Yeah, I just think from the list of draft eligible players, he's the most recognizable to the common poker fan. I mean, he certainly is not one to short any sort of antics at the table. I mean, when he won one drop, he was standing on the table afterwards in bare feet. He was also wearing a clown nose with Guy La Liberté. He has that, like I mentioned earlier with Duhamel, it was the former main event champ. Well, Esfandiari is always known as the first one drop champion. I mean, people still refer to him as the magician. He's just a really big name to the common poker fan.
For sure. I mean, I think you should go number one just in terms of that. But I mean, I guess I don't know how it works. Like if you're on an Italian team, like, I mean, they're talking about team chemistry being a thing. I'm not sure why team chemistry matters, but we're going to assume it matters in this.
I mean, what if your manager, what if you don't like your manager and he drafts you, or your manager doesn't like you, like, let's say Antonio goes first to Max Pescatore, but Antonio and Max have some sort of beef. They don't like each other. That's like, it could even be a one-way beef. Like, let's say Antonio doesn't like Max, but Max thinks that Antonio is a great pick. So he drafts him. Right. And then Antonio is just sitting there, kind of all sour thinking, oh, great, I got to play for this guy. I don't like this guy.
Can they quit? Do GP is Alex going to take him to jail or something? What's going to happen if these guys say fuck this? I'm done.
I don't know. We'll have to ask Alex on Thursday, but that contract seemed pretty serious. So
yeah, it sounds like it seems serious. Alex says the Chinese investor lawyers over there writing out the contract and putting in work. Mr. Pink says, "Wonder how players will feel if not drafted." I mean, poker players have no.
So, do you follow the 25K fantasy draft every year?
Of course, I love that. I love that.
So leading up to the draft, people, they kind of reach out to the various managers and they say, hey, this is my schedule. I'm playing this, and this, this many big buy-ins, this many tournaments, all that sort of stuff. And then after the fact, you always get those people that complain about the fact that they weren't drafted and, somebody else went for $20. I'm worth way more than that guy. You get two sets of complaints. You get the people that complain that they weren't drafted for enough money and that they went too low. And then you get the other people that complain that they weren't drafted at all. And I think that you're going to get that same sort of thing post GPL draft that you get in the 25K fantasy draft.
I'm going to name some names. Tell me if you think they're going to be drafted. We got WCG rider Doug Polk.
No, unless he has ties to one of the managers, and I don't know if he does.
I think he might have propositioned Chris Moneymaker.
He's someone who, while I don't think that a lot of common poker fans know Doug, he has a personality that could easily resonate one way or the other. He could be very polarizing to people. I think he can rub people the wrong way, but I think that in the case of the GPL is a good thing. I would want people on my team who are either the fans are going to hate and never want to watch, but they'll still watch because that's how people are, or they absolutely love them. I don't want anyone that's sort of in the middle. That's in the middle is bad.
Jason Moe. I feel like he's a kind of guy. People are going to love to hate him.
Is he on the list? I don't know if he's on the list.
I think he said he's on the list. I think he said he opted in for that.
He is on the list. I mean, he's someone,
Where is this list?
It's on PokerNews, sir.
Give me the link. Can you send me a link on Facebook to the list, please?
Yes, I will.
Sure.
Yeah, Jason Moe is, he's someone who, again, if he's going to be as opinionated as he is social media through his endeavor with the GPL, if he is drafted, then he's someone who could also benefit a team. It's not that he's, in my opinion, he's a super marketable character, but he serves that sort of that heel. If you're going to talk about it in wrestling terms, you have the heroes, you have the villains. He could be a villain, and I think that if I was drafting a team, I would pick. My first plan is to pick all super marketable, well-known poker personalities. My second option is to draft all villains, like nothing but bad guy, like the bad guys of poker, basically, and just have black jerseys and do that whole thing and really play it up.
Okay, I found the list on Poker News here. So who are the bad guys on this list? Like, who are we considering bad? Bad guys, right? I mean, Sorrell, is Sorrell a bad guy?
It depends how he's portrayed. If he's portrayed as the Sorrell that's had all those various situations, allegations, whatever you want to call them, when he's been playing on other people's accounts, cheating, whatever it may be, then yeah, he could be viewed as a bad guy. The Jason Moe, Doug Polk thing, they fall into, they call themselves the evil empire. So if they're going to call themselves the evil empire, don't they fit that bill perfectly?
I think so. Mr. Pink says GPL needs drama. Liv should draft Kevin McAfee.
Well, yeah, that would be a nightmare, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Please make that happen, Liv. Please draft Sam. Please draft Kevin. Please. That would be...
I think Mustafa Kanik could be sort of viewed as a bad guy because as much as he's like a fun-loving guy at the table, he pokes a lot of fun at people. And I think that the players that play with him in a lot of these high-roll events, they understand that it's in jest. But on TV, I don't know how well that'll resonate to the common poker fan. And they could say that, oh, this guy's just needling people. He's a real dick. But that could play up to him and his franchise's favor if he is drafted.
Who do you think on the list here, the players, who do you think is the top-ranked guy that won't get drafted? I'm just going to put the link in chat. I'm going to put the link in the description, too, for people that are watching this back later.
I'm going to say Jared Jaffe.
I don't actually know. Who's Jason Wheeler? I'm not sure who that is.
He's an American player, but I believe he lives in Amsterdam now. I think he's, basically got to start playing online and now plays a bit of live poker, a good amount of live poker. I mean, I don't know how else to describe him to you. I can show you a picture.
I don't know how to describe him either. Yeah. Pretty good guess. Jared Jaffe?
Yeah, I mean, maybe Ankush Mandavia because he's not as well known. I think people will pass on him. A lot of the other people above them, I feel like, will get drafted because they're high on the list and they belong to a country that the franchise manager is from. So.
Yeah, I could see it. I'm just looking at some of the names right now. Well, Kevin McAfee's, wow, he's fifth in the GPI.
Yeah, it's crushing.
Well, I thought there was two of them. Listen, the tournament players, they all blend together in my mind. I got to be honest with you, man. Like, the only people I really know are... What'd you say?
So there's too many tournaments, that's why.
It's insane. How do people keep track of all this shit? There's like an EPT, there's like 7 high rollers a month, there's like a super high roller, like 2 every, like, how do people how do you keep like track of what's going on? You like put the stories out. How do you, like, how can people keep track?
Hendon Mob and Kev Math. Those are the 2 big ways.
How does Kev Math even know all this stuff? I don't know.
Kev Math I still am not fully sure that he's a human being. I still think he's a bit robotic. But I have met him in person and he seems like a human as far as I can tell. But maybe when, later on we can do an autopsy on him or something and we can see if there's actually like, metal parts inside of him as opposed to a real human.
I think we got to get him drunk this weekend, take him to a strip club, put him up there. Let's see what happens when he gets around some women dancing on him. I mean, that'll tell you if someone's human or if they're a robot, won't it?
I think that would be great.
I can see. I'm going to take that back. I'm not trying to picture anything right now, man. But Kev Math, let me know how long you're going to be in LA for, kid. I got an idea. So Is Jimmy Stapler? Can Jimmy Stapler get drafted? Is Jay Carver, Jimmy Stapler? Could they be wild card picks?
Yes, but with with the wild card picks, you have to like basically agree to opt in post draft. So I'm not sure that they would be willing to do so. But I would see like Jason Somerville seems like he would be a pretty big front runner to be drafted as a wild card if knowing all the stuff that he's done with his own brand and the time and dedication that he's put into that. If he's going to also help poker grow, which I believe that he wants to do, being a wild card for a GPL team is a great avenue to do so.
I agree. I think that'll be. I think he might get a special contract.
I think you could be a great wild card selection. Would you be willing?
I'm not. I mean, I'd be willing, but I'm not. I never thought about that. But I mean, I'm not. I don't think I'm going to get drafted. But I feel like that makes sense. Like, I never thought about all the stuff you were talking about earlier with markability and all that stuff like that, and just being able to grind or get your stuff out there, or put yourself out there. So in terms of that, I mean, I'm sure I'd be good at it. But
I think the worst thing that could happen to the GPL is that a lot of players who are highly skilled but don't have a lot of personality when they're on TV can get drafted, and it's just going to be the same old run-of-the-mill turnoff for poker fans when they tune in to watch this thing. As much as we make fun of the fact that you have to play standing up in all of the events, that's a good thing for this because poker players are so used to one thing, sitting at a table, being in a certain environment, acting a certain way. Well, even something just as small as standing up, makes you step outside of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, you're going to act a bit differently. So a lot of these players who, might just sit down and just be zeroed in on focusing on, the task at hand, now that they're standing up, they're more free. They're willing to move around, that sort of stuff. I just, I think that in and of itself could go a long way. As much as we joke on the fact that, like they got to play standing up, and Alex made a sort of a big deal about it.
Can you do an Alex Dreyfus accent?
No, I can't.
Can't either. Believe me, when I get that French accent down, I'm gonna be whipping that thing out all the time. I'm looking at the. Yeah, so you kind of think maybe we need some Havad Khan, some Mike Matisow, some Jamie Gold. Can Jamie Gold be a wild card pick?
I mean, I think everyone's eligible to be a wild card pick. Well, everyone that's not. So if you're in the top 1,000 and you didn't opt in as part of the 200 players, then you can't be a wild card pick, as far as I understand it.
Oh, so you mentioned these personalities. I got to be honest. Looking at the top list, I mean, I don't see many like people who I would say are going to be like super big personalities in this thing. I mean,
no, there's not. There's not at all.
But because it isn't necessarily for money, maybe they'll ham it up a little bit. Maybe they'll turn something on. Maybe they'll. But from what we've seen from a lot of these guys, I don't see many guys who are very big personalities.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, a lot of the people that I would select are a bit further on down the list. I just feel like that's where, the more personable, more out of the box characters come from. Like I said earlier, I think everyone on this list is going to be able to adequately adjust their game to whatever they're put in front of from a skill standpoint.
We got my buddy Christian Harder in the chat. He says Chicago Joey needs to be a wild card. Shout out to Charter, man. Do you think Charter gets drafted? Mr. Ambassador of Maryland Live himself.
I mean, he could be someone. He's got to be out there. He's got to be willing to,
He's an ambassador you don't see the ambassador job he's doing on Twitter for Maryland Live? Man, he's an ambassador.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, it's good. But he's got to be an ambassador for the GPL. Is he willing to really go above and beyond in that regard?
No, man, they're paying $100 an hour or something like that. How much? And they're paying for all this traveling people are doing, like international travel. How much money they get from the Chinese investors, man?
I wasn't it right around 5 million, I believe.
Allegedly, I need to see receipts just to say it for sure. But well, allegedly,
receipts. But we can try and get those from Alex on Thursday. We'll see what he comes up with.
Yeah, the traveling is going to be expensive for these people if they're flying the whole teams out internationally. Like that put them in hotels and stuff like that. That seems like it's going to add up too.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to add up. I mean, hopefully, I would hope that they have everything, mapped out in terms of where the costs are going to go for, at least for the first season, if not for the first 2 seasons. And, they feel that, $5 million is an adequate enough amount of money to be able to do so and grow this thing as much as they want to.
We'll see what happens, man. I'm excited. We got anything else we want to talk about here, Donnie?
I got nothing for you, man. I'm excited to see you on Thursday in person. We don't have to do this whole video thing.
I know.
It'll be a good time. You know, I'm predicting that you are going to win Media Person.
How is that? I don't understand how that can be. I really don't. I thought about it. Like I think I'm 0% like to win. I just don't see how it's possible. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know who's on the jury. Like, do they watch the pods? Did they watch the Poker Stars? Like, I don't know how much they follow. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, last year I was on the jury. I don't know if I'm going to be on the jury this year. I would love to be. If anyone out there is listening, that'd be great. Yeah, last year after they announced the jury afterwards, I thought that everyone that was in the room at the time had a lot of valid arguments. I didn't necessarily agree with all of them. I went into the jury meeting thinking one thing for most of the award selections. Some of them, because of the debates that were had, I got swayed, and I honestly changed my decision. A lot of people made some really good points. I felt like the people in that room were very smart, and we covered, sort of all different facets of the industry that needed to be covered. So it'll be good. And as last year, and I'm assuming that they would do it the same this year, if you're nominated for an award and you're also on the panel, the jury, you can't be in the room during that specific award selection. So
how do when do they tell you you're on the jury? Do they tell you ahead of time? They tell you when you're out there? How does that work?
I want to say last year I found out the day before or 2 days before. And they were basically like, hey, if you're going to be in LA for 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. or I don't remember what the time it was, we'd love to have you on the jury, come out, that sort of thing. So
cool. Well, maybe we'll see what happens. I mean, I feel like it makes sense for you to be on there again. It doesn't make, I feel like in terms of the people that are, in the actual up to date on what's happening on a consistent basis. I mean, I feel like you're definitely at the forefront of what's happening. So,
well, thank you. I mean, I try. Sometimes I feel like there's not enough hours in the day to consume it all, but I do my best.
It's true. There is a lot to really consume. Honest to God, like I'm starting to think. I think about it. I'm just like, I don't know how you take all this shit in. Like, it's so much. There's so much happening all around. So it's fun. Guys in the chat, if you guys have a couple questions for Donnie, here's the time. Let me know. Brent says, ask him why he's not on Gronk Party Boat. I would have went on that if I would have known. Why didn't you go on the Gronk Party Boat? You see the videos? He's twerking on stage and.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like a giant mess. I heard that. I read something on ESPN so ESPN sent a reporter to kind of cover it, do some behind the scenes stuff, that the boat didn't sell out from Gronk's Party Boat side of things. And then they ended up opening up a lot of the rooms to just regular customers. So there was a pretty good mesh of, like families taking a cruise, but then also the Gronk party goers. So it was
really?
It was this whole giant thing.
That explains a lot of the photos I've seen of the people there, because it didn't make much sense. Some of these pictures, I was like, what the fuck kind of crowd of people was this party boat, man? But it looked fun. I would have went if I would have known about it. I'll put it that way. It would have been fun.
I mean, fortunately, I have to work, and I can't just take all this time off to go party with Gronk, but it would have been awesome.
Fun. Pamela Maldonado in the chat. She says, great show, guys. Thank you, Pamela. Much love. Papi, mommy, much love, Papi. I call everybody Papi, so I think is that all we got? Justin Oliver working hard to get drafted. What do you think about Justin Oliver's video he made for?
I absolutely love that. I love the video. I think that it can go a long way in terms of getting Justin Oliver drafted. If I was a manager, I would definitely bump him up towards the top of my list. But one thing I would want to do is reach out to him and say, listen, it can't stop with that video. You have to do this sort of stuff all the time if you're part of my franchise. I mean, that's just the stuff that if I was a manager, I would expect from my team. I would also expect it of myself.
Are you like coaching these managers? I feel like you've got a really good outlook on things here, Papi.
No, but I did offer on social media that if any of the managers want to reach out to me, I'm happy to go about doing this. Rich Ryan and I have manned a team in the 25K fantasy draft for a couple of years now. So we're familiar with the whole draft process. I feel like I'm familiar with the players. As someone who works in the media side of things, I know, what makes a good interview or who's a good person to put on camera, that sort of stuff. And those are the type of people that, I would pin down as my top draft selections. I mean, even if you just watch a lot of poker on TV, who's good and who's bad on TV. I mean, you said earlier, you know, you have the Havad Khans, you have the Jamie Golds, those guys. Not that we need those specific guys, but people that have personalities like that are not going to get on camera and just, you know, quiet, you know, be quiet and, you know, shell up and that sort of stuff. That's not what we're looking for here. And I don't think that that's not like the goal of the GPL.
All right, well, I was trying to keep this under an hour, but it's an hour and a half. So, I'm trying to keep these new shorter format things here, but so we'll wrap it up. Warm Deck says, tell us about your earliest at Poker News. It's probably a longer story for another podcast, Warm Deck. No, another story for another time. Chad Holloway, long live Poker News. What's up, Chad? Congratulations on the new position, Poppy. Hope you do some good work over there, my friend. I'll be following along via Facebook and Twitter on the adventures, man. That's it. Donnie, any last words?
I got nothing.
All right, you want to follow Donnie? It's at Donnie_Peters on Twitter, right?
Yes, it is. I tried to get Donnie Peters no underscore, but some guy has it. He still uses it, so I'll just let it be.
Donnie_Peters, living the struggle at Poker News Twitter. And that's it. Donnie, I'll see you in a couple days. Well, it's been fun out there. I'm sure the draft will be very fun to be present. We'll actually be able to watch that live, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I hope so. If not, then I'm going to be very upset.
That's going to be fun, man. I'm excited. I can't wait to get out there. Guys, I'll see you out there. Charter, see you out there, buddy. Jason, Kev Math, everybody in the chat that are going to be out there. My buddy Marco, thank you for tuning in as always. Guys, see you later. Peace out. Adios. Much love. I'll see you, Donnie. I don't know how to stop this. I actually have to look how to stop this now. Oh, I think I stop it here.